Level up your LA Kings experience with Vivid Seats Elite Seats. All the on-ice Kings action with even more exclusive access and rewards. Enjoy great seats to the game in Section 103 along with Yamava Club access and parking included with your purchase. Plus, get a free Team LA Kings shop item at the game. Score your Vivid Seats Elite Seats tickets today and earn perks on each purchase from the only leading ticket company with a rewards program. Experience it live with Vivid Seats, the official partner of the LA Kings. Did you know the LA Kings have their own culinary partner? It's Superfood, celebrating 10 years and over 1 million meals served. Since 2020, the Kings have trusted Superfood to fuel their players. Now through Simply Lunch, you can bring that same performance-driven food to your office. Because when people eat better, they work better. Visit mysuperfood.com. That's mysuperfd.com. Or call 213-973-6145. Qualified companies can enjoy a free lunch for up to 10 managers.
You're listening to All the Kings Men, the official podcast of the LA Kings. Now, here's your host, Jesse Cohen.
All right, we're beginning our player evaluation series of episodes. Joining me today to talk about the forwards, Jim Fox. How are you doing today, Jim?
Doing okay, Jesse. Thanks again.
And we're going to keep this one, relatively short. We're just going to talk about the players that were added at the end of the season. It's a short list. Not all of them were acquired at the trade deadline. 2 of them were call-ups, and 1 was a free agent signing. So we'll start there with Matthieu Joseph, who was signed. He had his contract bought out by the St. Louis Blues and then was signed to a short-term, short dollar contract by the LA Kings. I don't know about you. I didn't feel like we really got a large sample size to sort of judge Matthieu Joseph by. So even though he was there for, a quarter of the season, arguably, I still don't know what to make of him. I couldn't tell you what I think his strengths are beyond sort of speed and like really basic speed and size stuff. So what did you see from Matthieu Joseph?
Yeah, we saw a player that knows he's at the end of the line if it doesn't turn around now. We did see a player in a perfect circumstance for him because DJ Smith, the head coach, was in his corner and giving him the opportunity to show what he can do. I don't think there's any doubt that Matthieu, at least at this stage in his career, is no higher than I'm going to say he's a fourth-line winger. He executed what was asked. That's the one thing. Now, again, he wasn't asked to do much as far as production, but he did execute as far as be more physical, get into the forecheck, and when you get into the forecheck, make a hit. So he did that. To me, to say this, if DJ Smith is not back, Matthieu Joseph is not back.
Do you think there's enough pull? If DJ Smith was named the head coach, you think he's got enough pull and enough of a relationship with Joseph that could be the determining factor?
Yes, I think that would be a determining factor of him making the roster. The other thing would be, is he holding back any younger players that are trying to emerge? Is he taking away ice time from them? If that's the case, then he probably doesn't fit at all. But again, I'm going to say he did execute what was asked.
He only played, I'm looking at it now, I thought it was more than this. He only played 12 regular season games, but he did play 2 in the playoffs. And I don't know, I'm not looking right now how many minutes he played per game. I know in that one playoff game, I think he led the team in hits. So his impact looms larger in my mind because of the recency of it than the total number of games.
Yeah, and I think that, again, DJ Smith is his biggest supporter. And he played for DJ. He played hard for him. But I'm not sure if he would be given the same opportunity just based on if a new coach comes in, then you're starting all over again. And I don't know if they want to do that.
You mentioned younger players that Matthieu Joseph might be blocking. One of them he did not block was Jared Wright, who was called up and finished the season with the LA Kings, played in the playoffs for them. Now, Jared Wright is an interesting player, Jim. When he started playing, I was immediately suspicious because he's the obvious thing that anybody could see of him. You don't have to know anything about hockey. You can see how fast he is. It's plain as the nose on all of our faces. But the Kings have had fast players in the recent memory, who didn't match that speed with any other aspect of the game other than speed. And so, excuse me, I almost called him Austin, but he's not. Jared Wright had a few breakaways that he didn't score on early, and I started to think, oh, is he going to turn into an Austin Wagner type where the expectation is created because of the speed and then the scoring doesn't match it? But I have to say, Jared Wright did find ways to contribute. He had at least a few really nice passes that were created by his speed, and he complemented his speed with a physical tenacity that other players who seemed to be getting by on their speed didn't bring.
I would say his biggest asset is when he arrives on the forecheck, he's not slowing down. He's speeding up.
Yeah.
He, to compare him to Austin Wagner, Austin was straight ahead speed, north-south speed. I think with Jared, what he can do, he can go east-west. He can go left-right. He can adjust on the forecheck. So that speed doesn't overwhelm his opportunity to get in and take the proper angle. And even when he doesn't take the proper angle, he can adjust with agility. And that's what probably separates him from an Austin Wagner. Bottom line, no goals. Is there going to be production? Right now, certainly a fourth-line player. The skill and speed tells you he could be a third-line player. But based on that, I would say that would be it. I think he certainly can develop into a penalty killer because of his ability to close ground and, get the gaps taken care of, get to the shooting lanes, those types of things. So a bright spot for sure. A bright spot because he is young. He is willing, and that was nice to see.
My impression, and you tell me how crazy you think I am on this, I feel like if you are that fast, whether you're Connor McDavid or Quentin Byfield or Austin Wagner or Andreas Athanasiou or Jared Wright, I feel like it must be difficult because so few players are that fast. And so in the offensive zone, if you're Connor McDavid and you're blessed with unbelievable physical gifts, it sort of doesn't matter if anybody else on your team is as fast as you because you can do it all yourself. There was a pass that Jared Wright made to Quentin Byfield. I believe he got the assist on it. And if Quentin Byfield weren't able to keep up with Jared Wright's speed, that pass never happens. The opportunity never is created. So, I mean, how much do you need, if you're that fast, how much do you need somebody else that fast to help generate offensive opportunities?
Again, yeah, it's all based on placement in the lineup and where you're pegged in. That's where it's going to be. But again, you earn that opportunity. So again, you need some production. You need to have a finish at some point, whether it's 10, 12, 14, something like that, goals by the end of a 84 game regular season next year. That would be something to take a look at. No, I don't know if he. Yeah, it's tough when you talk about McDavid. I know what you're saying, but that's where he separates himself. Guys like Jarrett, they have to move at a pace in which they can still be in control of the puck. And that's a very difficult thing to do. You can get out of control. And then don't confuse activity with accomplishment.
Right.
And he's in that boat right now. Let's face it. He is. He looks great. It's good, but you need a little bit more. And again, not looking for 30 goals, looking for 12 to 14. And whether he's capable or not, I think you know him, Jesse. I think I've heard you talk about him. He is certainly a coachable player. He's a teammate. So again, those are positives as a young guy. We'll see how the guys mature because when they go from that stage of being the newcomer to maybe more of a fixture, sometimes their personality changes a little bit. But I think starting next season, he's in pencil for sure, but he's written in to the lineup.
Another player who, tough to know how much of a role he might get next season, but he was a call-up this season as well, Taylor Ward. Now, he's not young. He's 28. He'll be 29 next March. It's funny when people say, rank the prospects in Ontario, and maybe you go with the younger, higher profile names. But then you have guys like Jeff Malott and Taylor Ward who wouldn't be high on your list, but who get that spot and then keep it. And Taylor Ward, I mean, he did produce. He had 7 points in 36 games, 3 goals, 4 assists, and was part of that fourth line. There were people, Jared Shaffrin, chief among them, who kept, sort of tugging on my sleeve and saying, don't forget about Taylor Ward. Don't forget about Taylor Ward when conversations would come up of who was next for a call-up. I never really took it seriously, but what did you like about Taylor Ward down the stretch?
Well, you like the shot that he has. Now, again, we're talking about a player that's not expected to score more than 10 or 12 goals based on the ice time he gets and the role he plays. But he does have an above-average release and shot. So that puts him into a category. When you do get chances, if they are there, maybe there's a chance of finishing. I think his age works against him. You're in that middle road now where, you're not young, you're not old, but if you're going to be taking space away from someone else. Now, again, I'll be honest with you, Jesse, I don't know if he's taking away space from anyone that's in Ontario. I don't know enough about Ontario to have an opinion on that. But again, if I put Jared Wright, he's in the lineup to start next season. Taylor Ward, I don't know if I put him in the same category.
Okay. And is that because Wright has more tools, or just because of the way that he played the Kings style?
I would say it has more to do with age.
Okay. All right. And I'm sorry, I'm backtracking a little bit. You mentioned that if DJ Smith is back, you're more optimistic about Joseph's chances. Does the coach, whoever it is next season, alter your does it move the needle at all for you on which of these guys you think has a better shot to make the team next year?
No, it does not, because the only thing that was based on the Matthieu Joseph was the previous relationship with DJ Smith.
Gotcha.
So if a new coach does come in, I think he would certainly have to listen to the organization, what they feel about these kids, who's ready to come up, all those types of things. But again, I think Jared Wright would have enough of a, put a videotape together of his shifts, and I think a new coach would come in and go, okay, we can find a spot for him.
Right. Now we're going to move on to the guys actually acquired by trade at the trade deadline. And first up is Scott Laughton. And Jim, Scott Laughton's a fascinating player to me because I don't have anything. There's no knock in my mind on his game. I think he plays a fine game. He obviously, his strengths are well known. But I wonder if he didn't have the reputation in the locker room, would his strengths on the ice be as heralded and well sung without the other part of it?
No.
Okay.
Because you're right. He is, the sum of the parts with him comes together more so and creates a better finished product than his actual skill, because, his foot speed is a big concern.
Right.
But he makes up for that with, the veteran presence, understanding, experience, face-offs, which were, huge. It's huge. You see more teams now. I've never seen as many teams and coaches now go with specified face-off people. Man, you have to go back to the late 70s before you can get into that, where they just send out a centerman. And that's when you could make changes on icings and things of that sort. Now you can't, but you see that, starting overtime, he's out there to take the face-off. Sometimes in a power play situation, he's on the second unit because he wins face-offs. So, but he does have that great teammate personality and attitude. He's got an old school demeanor. He's light enough to joke around with the guys. When he gets on the ice, he means business. But I think where you were getting to, does his overall skill set, he's not going to be over a third line centerman. He's just not. And again, right now, I would say on a winning team, he would be a great fourth line centerman. And that's with teams nowadays who are using 4 lines. They believe in 4 lines, meaning 11 to 12 minutes for that fourth line player, not 7 or 8. So that's where I would put him on a Stanley Cup championship type team. And that's why it's interesting to see what will happen here, because the biggest concern to me is his foot speed. And with the game and the speed and the way it's going, and play fast. Play fast is thinking fast too, which he can do. Again, DJ Smith, right? He had him before. He had him in junior when he was a big wheel and a scorer and all that. He told us he felt that Scott had a little bit more skill than he was given opportunity to show with previous teams. But that's something that still has to be seen, and he doesn't have to prove he is what he is, right, Jess?
Yeah.
It's there. He's been there for long enough on the teams he's been in. But there is no doubting the fact that everywhere he has been, they absolutely love him as a teammate.
Yeah.
And for that reason, if the numbers can work out, I would bring him back, even if he did slow, and I know the Kings are thin at center, but even if he did slot down to a fourth line center, I would have him back.
Well, that's kind of where I was going to go next, is given the Kings, they're obviously losing on Jake Kopitar. And so now and Laughton is an unrestricted free agent. And after that, it's basically Byfield and Hellenius, unless you're going to start calling guys up from Ontario or go outside the organization. So he's here till July 1st, at which point, who knows? So on a scale of 1 to 10, like, where would you prioritize locking him up to another contract?
Yeah, I would, it's 7.5. But I do think, because he's unrestricted, there will be Stanley Cup contending teams, not playoff contenders, Stanley Cup, that'll be interested in him as a fourth line center. And they might be able to pay a little bit more for that slotted position because he would really anchor down and finish off a Stanley Cup contending team. Right now, I don't put the Kings in that category as a Stanley Cup contender, obviously. They lost 4 straight in the playoffs to the best team in the league, but we'd have to see more from them. And all of what we're talking about, slotting in, especially in the center position, as you know, and you just talked about. I mean, I've looked at the free agent market. It's not that big at center. So, I think if you go outside, it's going to have to be a trade. But then, how many prospects and what kind of assets do the Kings have? So in other years, I think it would be a better chance to fit in with a free agent, an unrestricted guy, and sign to get. But the Kings going to need centermen, right, Jesse? They're going to need centermen.
Yeah. I would think so. Maybe not, but I would think so.
Oh, yes. They need, and that's, I could bring Scott Laughton back, but it's just, I think he might get a deal from someone else that he just can't refuse.
Zach Dooley and I were talking about it and both agreed, from what we've heard from the organization and from Laughton, there's interest on both sides. I think you kind of nailed it. I think it'll just come down to money. If somebody comes along and offers him $2 million more a year than the Kings do, and he wants to take it, then that might be it. But if they can agree on a number, I feel like he's back. But that's why the summer plays out.
The bad part, I think, Jesse, is this: if a contending team comes in and offers him the same as the Kings, where is he going to go?
Right. I guess it depends on how much he likes the weather.
Again, I'm talking about Stanley Cup contender.
Yeah.
I think the Kings can make enough turnaround again to make the playoffs next year, but a lot of things would have to change and go right for them to be considered a cup contender.
Yeah. Well, next on our list is a player who, if anybody on the team is capable of elevating the contender status, it's this guy. It's Artemi Panarin. And I don't know if you and I have talked about it, Jim, but I've been saying for a while now, since they acquired him, I'm not going to get into terms of like best or most offensively gifted or whatever, but I will say, at least in my memory, I don't think I can remember the Kings ever having a winger like Artemi Panarin as far as offensive contribution. Like, just the way he plays and the ability he has to generate offense from the wing, never mind center, but from the wing specifically. I just can't remember the last time they had a player like him. People have compared him to Palffy. It's so long ago, and I just don't. Full disclosure, I don't really remember Palffy's game that much. I remember being impressed by it, but it's different.
Different skaters. Palffy was quicker and dart in and out, where Panarin is more cerebral, and he's more hold on and protect the puck. Ziggy did that very well too, but he did it more in a quicker fashion. Artemi to me is very interesting. He is the most cerebral winger I think we had from an offensive production. I mean, he can find the open guy, right? He can find, if you're open, he'll find you. And he can also hang on long enough where he gives you more time to get open. But I'm going to just say this, that he is the most productive player the Kings have offensively. There's no question.
Yeah.
But there's a tough fit there. Where does he fit? I mean, he played with the top line, and of course they did well, but I also thought that Adrian Kempe's game kind of, I don't know if it drifted somewhere. So I'm not saying get rid of Panarin. I'm just saying the chemistry is interesting to work on all cylinders, because whoever he plays with is going to be productive. But to get him back to that 100-point range, that would be something I'd like to see. I think it's capable, but I think then the chemistry of the line has to be really good. And then, you know what? If he's here the whole year like he should be, and the power play, gets to 15th in the league, 12th in the league, then that's production, right? He's going to get a lot of production on the power play.
I think most people understand why Panarin wasn't played with any center other than Kopitar once DJ Smith took over. They're trying to make the playoffs. They're trying to go with what gives them the best shot. In a different circumstance, I think maybe we get a view of Panarin with different centers. But now, barring an addition of a big center externally via trade or free agency, I think we all sort of expect it'll be Quentin Byfield. We have no idea what Panarin and Byfield will look like as a tandem. We'll have to wait till training camp, and by then, who knows, maybe they will have made another ad, in which case we have to find out what that center, if that is going to be the center that plays with Panarin. So, I mean, yeah, to your point, we just don't know. The chemistry issues will have to play out, and unfortunately, they didn't get 20 games to tinker with it, at the end of this season because they were trying to make the playoffs.
Exactly. I mean, Artemi does conserve energy defensively. So, but that's okay, right? I mean, I thought the Kings under DJ Smith were so much more exciting to watch. And unfortunately, Jim Hiller, who, I think I was a big supporter. He's a good guy. But it just stagnated under him to the point where I think players they lost the love of the game. They lost the fun of the game. And then I think it started to hurt the team but I don't want to put the handcuffs on Panarin at all, but keep, just in the back of my mind, having a healthy Kevin Fiala and a Panarin. Now you have two. And again, I don't know if we'll get into Kevin, but I kind of liked the way he played last year, and I know it wasn't as wide open. I just feel on a team that's going to go somewhere and do something, yes, the Kings need to open it up a little bit. There's no question. But when Kevin Fiala joined the Kings, I thought he was way too risky on any team.
Yeah.
The cross-ice passes across the offensive blue line, putting everyone else on their heels because they don't know if it's going to connect or not. That just hurts. Now, his one-on-one individual skill, elite. Panarin, again, he can command that type of puck presence. He does it in a completely different way, right? Kevin Fiala is more physical. He's darting in, out, stop, start. Really let go of the shot. With Panarin, I think his shot is very underrated. It's great. Now, I'm looking at his numbers, 28 goals. Again, most of that year is with the Rangers. But it is an interesting dynamic. If you have Panarin on one line and Fiala on another line, it's at least it's something for the other team, the opposition, to worry about.
My takeaway with Panarin continually comes down to how much he scores, and with the absolutely necessary caveat these days of plus minus being an imperfect stat. Artemi Panarin played 26 games for the LA Kings, had 27 points, and was a +9.
Yeah.
So however much energy he was conserving on defense, or however you want to put it, it wasn't hurting the Kings. Whereas, and this is an absurd comparison, I realize, but like Wayne Gretzky in his final year had 62 points in 70 games and was a minus 23. That's not what we're talking about here with Artemi Panarin.
Right.
Like, as
No.
long as he generates offense at an absurd clip, which he has done his entire career.
Do not want to put the handcuffs on him at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's
Right.
why, but that's why he played with Kopitar and Kempe. I mean, he could do all that stuff because Kopi would be the safety valve, and but again, at some point the Kings have to make a shift. I'm going to call it, not a change, but a shift into more attack oriented.
Well, let me ask you this from a strategic standpoint. Let's say next year it is Byfield, Kempe, and Panarin. We know what Byfield can do defensively. We know what Kempe can do defensively. Is it possible to build a successful line where 2/3 of the line are playing a two-way game and 1/3 is playing, all gas, no brakes?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's the shift I think the Kings have to make now. Every coach out there is going to say, yeah, we can't do it without sacrificing too much defense, but again, that's where hopefully like power play can come in and be I'm going to say a little bit more, a whole bunch more effective.
Yeah.
And then you don't have to worry about the plus minus. You can be a minus player, but if that power play carries you,
right,
take it.
Oh, well, that is going to wrap up this part of our conversation. Thank you for joining me, Jim. Appreciate it as always.
Jesse, my pleasure. Thank you.